Coin flip of polling shows former President Trump overcoming a lot of the momentum the Harris team saw after the DNC. So what's the state of play as the candidates crisscross the country in the home stretch? Let's talk about that and more with Republican strategist Amanda Makki, up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
You made it up here from the storm zone.
I did.
Yeah.
I escaped the hurricanes.
Everybody's okay. You're okay.
Everyone's okay, but it'll be a lot of rebuilding, unfortunately, for Florida and North Carolina.
Well, welcome back home.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the election as we are about less than 3 weeks away at this point. And, you know, it's funny because I remember 2016, Donald Trump really in the last days of the campaign was really pushing hard, and that seemed to pay off. I mean, he was going to all these swing states. What are you seeing right now on the trail?
I think he's doing a lot of work, but what I see is that both candidates are trying to reach out to different demographics through a variety of mediums. So today, for example, Kamala Harris was on Fox News. And so that interview with Bret Baier, I think it went very poorly, but she's trying to reach out to those individuals who maybe are not going to support President Trump. Maybe they were Nikki Haley people, and maybe she can get their support, because this is a very close election and they are just trying to reach out to every demographic that they possibly can. And Trump, on the other hand, has been reaching out to a variety of mediums through social media, and it's the same. They're just trying to reach different audiences. You
know, and as we looked at, I know we compare a lot to 2016, and then you look at 2020 where you had a lot of those blue wall states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin back in 2016 go to Trump, and then 2020 flip back to the Democratic side. Pennsylvania really seems to be, and I think people get tired of me talking about it being a Pennsylvanian myself, but so it's like Florida, Florida, Florida back in 2000.
That's right. That's right. Well, there was a Politico article that talked about, I think it came out today, and it talked about how Pennsylvania Democrats in leadership, particularly in Philadelphia, I know you're from Pittsburgh, are not happy with the person who is running the program, running the show for Kamala Harris in the state of Pennsylvania. She is from Pittsburgh, and they say that she does not know Philadelphia. She does not know the state. This is a state that is crucial, 19 electoral college votes. And I think right now, Kamala Harris may be saying to herself, maybe I should have picked Governor Shapiro, Democrat governor, very well-liked politician, popular. But a lot of people thought that she maybe was worried about him overshadowing her. And so Tim Walz, I think, has been a failure. I think he's bringing her down with his lies, with his just inability to really, I think, do the things that he was supposed to do, which was to get the rural vote, to get males to cross over, and I think that's been a problem.
You know, what's interesting is when you look at the Walz and the situation, you mentioned the debate, having the Tiananmen Square situation where he had to sort of come to some sort of answer on that, and he clearly wasn't ready. JD Vance, a lot of people said early on, a lot of people on the Democratic side, oh man, terrible pick, he's going to be a failure, he's going to bring Trump down. The last couple of weeks, you have seen a lot. It looks like he has his footing on the campaign trail compared to Walz, where he has sort of lost a little bit of the momentum.
Right. So it wasn't just Tiananmen Square. It was his record in the military that he embellished. It was the IVF that he said his children were conceived through, which it wasn't. It was a series of missteps, misspeaking, otherwise known as lies. And so I think a lot of people see that and they move away from someone because they fear what is he going to lie about next. JD Vance, on the other hand, his life has been an open book because of Hillbilly Elegy, the book you may have read, the movie you may have seen. And so you know what he is. He has kind of shared his life, and that's what makes him so remarkable, is not only how talented he is, but he's an American dream story. He's what we should all aspire to go from this story of poor Appalachia growing up in a dysfunctional family because of the substance abuse his mother endured, and then coming out under the age of 40 as a vice presidential candidate.
Why at this point, though, with Vance, you know, a lot of people have asked him, and it came up in the debate too, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? Why do you think Vance has not just said, yeah, he lost, let's move on? He's been saying, I'm not here to, I'm here to talk about the future, which is a line that a lot of politicians use when you don't want to talk about the past.
Well, he did say, I think you know my position, you know, there were inaccuracies, errors, whatever you may call it. So he did actually say it, but everyone walks away from that saying he didn't answer it, and that's fair. As someone who was a Trump attorney myself in the state of Wisconsin during the recount, I can tell you that during COVID, a lot of things were not properly handled. In other words, they didn't follow the law. And I can tell you that for a fact. Now, does that mean the outcome of the election was wrong? No one can say for sure, but I think people believe there were a lot of inaccuracies because of COVID. And so I think if you explain it, people may answer that, differently, but at this point, it's a moot point. It's been 3.5 years. It's over. Let's move forward.
Well, and
I think the bigger issue there is that some Democrats are saying we're not going to certify the election. So really, two wrongs don't make a right if that's the way they're looking at it.
We've seen that, to be fair, going back to Al Gore, we've always had challenges of some way, but you usually have the House, a member of the House represent or introduce it. Nobody from the Senate co-sponsored it. The last time around was the first time we saw that in a long while. Amanda, we're out of time. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you.
Always appreciate it.
Thank you.
And the Final Five is back right after this.